This is Mad Movie Mark, or the Mad Movie Mark movie review. Thank you for joining me as I review the 1979 science fiction drama Stalker.
Вот мы с вами стоим на пороге. Это самый важный момент в вашей жизни.
Hey, well, thank you. That's high praise. That means a lot. That's a lot to live up to. I'm reviewing every movie that has 100% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm giving them all a score of 1 to 10. After I watch them and score them all, I will rank them from worst to best. I started in the 1927 movie era, and now I'm at 1979 with Stalker. This movie has a 100% fresh rating from the critics and a 92% fresh rating from the audience, and was directed by Tarkovsky, who is considered one of the greatest directors of all time, and who directed another movie that I reviewed called Ivan's Childhood. Now, before I do this review, I just want to reiterate that I am just a normal moviegoer. I have no film school background. I'm just someone who loves movies, just your average Joe who decided that it would be cool to watch every movie that has a 100% fresh rating and eventually rank them. That being said, this movie is considered one of the greatest movies of all time. It is on a lot of the greatest movie of all time lists that you'll find out there. But I do not believe that that is true. I don't believe this is one of the greatest movies of all time. This movie is based on a book, and if I had read the book, I probably would have a better understanding of what I'm watching here. But this movie, to me, is incredibly confusing. It's incredibly slow. To say this is a slow burn would be an absolute understatement. It's almost 3 hours long, and of those 3 hours, really nothing happens of note until maybe like the 2.5 hour mark or something like that. It was a struggle for me to get through this movie. I started maybe like an hour in. I just completely was taken out of this movie in every way, and I didn't want to finish it. It's taken me like 2 weeks to finish this movie just because I didn't want to go back to it. Just because I knew I had another 2 hours and I just didn't want to sit through it. This movie, essentially, it is about a place called the Zone. Now, the Zone is an area in Russia which was thought to have been hit by a meteorite at some point, but now they're not sure exactly what happened.
Примерно лет 20 тому назад здесь будто бы упал метеорит. Спалил дотла поселок. Метеорит этот искали, ну и, конечно, ничего не нашли.
Почему, конечно?
Потом тут стали пропадать люди. Уходили сюда и не возвращались.
Ну?
Ну и, наконец, решили, что метеорит этот не совсем метеорит. И для начала поставили колючую проволоку, чтобы любопытствующие не рисковали.
It's an area that is sort of magical in the way it's set up. No one's allowed to enter the zone. It's pretty much cordoned off by the government. In the zone, things change all the time. And I mean, it's like your surroundings change. You could be in the zone and there'll be like a river next to you, and then a couple minutes later, there's nothing there. At least that's how it's explained in the movie. It's constantly changing. There's a room in the zone that if you enter it, it grants you your greatest desires or your biggest wishes. And that's kind of what we're looking for in this movie. There's a guy who is known as a stalker. Now, stalkers, for some reason, are able to guide people through the zone and take people to the zone. I honestly don't know what makes a stalker so unique. I don't think it was ever explained why stalkers have this ability, or who exactly can become a stalker, or how you even know that you are a stalker, to be perfectly honest. The main character is a stalker, and his wife is kind of fed up with him going to the zone because he risks his life every time he goes.
Ты зачем мои часы взял? Куда ты собрался, я тебя спрашиваю? Ведь ты же мне слово дал. Я же тебе поверила. Ну хорошо, о себе ты не хочешь думать, а мы?
Because, like I said, you're not supposed to be there, and the government doesn't want you to be there, and they try to stop you when you go. So he is meeting up with two people, one only known as the writer and the other only known as the professor. Now, the writer wants to go to this room because he wants to get inspiration for his writing, and we're told that the professor wants to go there because he wants to win a Nobel Prize, but we later find out that he has other motives. So there's this really cool scene when they're going to the zone where they're kind of riding like this trolley thing.
Да бросьте вы свой рюкзак, наконец, он же мешает.
Это вы, я гляжу, налегке, как на прогулку.
Если кого-нибудь заденет, не кричать, не метаться. Увидят, убьют. Потом, когда все стихнет, ползите назад, к заставе. Утром подберут.
The cinematography in this movie is fantastic. Camera work is beautiful. Acting is pretty on point also. But I mean, some of the best cinematography you'll ever see. I said the same thing about Ivan's childhood. It's unmatched, really. It's fantastic. So when they get to the zone where the stalker tells the two people that he's with that they need to follow his footsteps exactly, they need to make sure that they're trying to put like one foot in front of the other type of thing, just make sure that they're mimicking what he's doing completely, and don't fall off the trail. He also says that the shortest way to the room is not always in a straight line, and that if you try to go there in a straight line, you will be caught and horrible things will happen to you.
Здесь не ходят. В зоне вообще прямой путь не самый короткий. Чем дальше, тем меньше риск.
Ну, а если напрямик, это что, смертельно?
Ведь вам же сказали, что это опасно.
А в обход не очень.
Тоже опасно, конечно. Но я же говорю, здесь не ходят.
Да мало ли кто где не ходит. Ну, а если я все-таки
Послушайте, вы...
тащиться куда-то в обход, а здесь все перед носом. И здесь риск, и там риск. Какого черта?
Знаете, вы очень легкомысленно к этому относитесь.
Now, for some reason, he ties a bunch of bolts onto like towels or something, and he throws the bolts, and apparently that's where he's supposed to be able to go to. I believe it's because if he throws a bolt and it doesn't land on a booby trap, that means that he's good to go. But I don't really know, because I don't really think they explain why he does this. It's just something that you have to guess. Also, if he's throwing the bolt way ahead of him, how does he know that the path that he's taking to the bolt is free? I don't know. But that's how he kind of judges his way. Now, along the way, the writer at multiple points gets annoyed with the stalker because he thinks that he's going too slow and he's not speeding up fast enough. So there's a couple different times when the writer kind of goes off on his own, and you think, okay, well, he's probably dead. We're probably going to be down to two people. But no, he always ends up finding his way back and everything seems fine. So like they're just trying to get to this room for a while. When they finally get to the room, we learn that the professor has a bomb and he plans on blowing up the room so that this thing doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Eventually, he's kind of talked off the ledge by the stalker, and he does not blow up the room. And then at the end of the movie, I think they make it to the room. Like, I don't really, that part, the end of the movie kind of confuses me. I believe they make it to the room, and then at the end, we're just showing the stalker who's talking to his wife, and apparently also his child has some telekinesis powers. And that's the entire movie. Now, the premise for this movie, when I read it, online sounded amazing. It sounded like it was going to be a on the edge of your seat type of movie, but like I said, it drags and it drags and nothing happens ever, ever in this movie. Nothing happens. It's so hard to watch. I mean, if you want to watch great cinematography, then maybe this is for you. If you like a really slow movie, then maybe this is for you as well. I honestly can't understand why this is considered such a fantastic film. The writing is okay. Honestly, I feel like they could have done so much more with this zone that they're in. We're told that things are supposed to change constantly. We see that a couple times with the writer when he ends up going the wrong way. He ends up somewhere, and then he's somewhere else. The professor too went back to get the knapsack that he carried his bomb in. He left it by accident at one point, and he goes back to get it, and then when he goes back to get it, he ends up in the same place as the other two, even though the other two went off without him. So yes, things do change in the zone, but I just feel like there could have been so much more neat and fun and exciting things that could have been done here. I feel like this is supposed to be a really tense movie. It's supposed to really keep you on the edge of your seat, to wondering what's going to happen to these three men. Are they going to make it? Are they going to make it to the room? But honestly, I didn't care. I really could have cared less if they made it to the room or not. Actually, I did want them to make it to the room, because that means that the movie's going to end if they make it to the room. And I was just trying to get to the ending of this movie. Like I said, I had a hard time coming back to this movie. I had a hard time finishing this movie. It was just so freaking slow. Also, I read a little bit on the backstory of this movie. So a couple of the actors and the director died at a very young age, and they're thinking, the thought process was that it's because of this movie, because they filmed at a power plant and they filmed at areas that really do not help your health at all. Bad chemicals that they were ingesting all the time. And it's thought that these bad chemicals that they were constantly ingesting while doing this movie ended up leading to their deaths, which I think is terrible, because it's not a very good movie. Now, this movie was filmed, I believe, 3 times because they had trouble with the quality of the film. I think at one point the whole film was destroyed and they had to refilm it again. So it just seems like they went through a lot of trouble with this movie to really, to get it out there. And I don't know why, to be perfect. To be honest, I know that like with a couple of my reviews, people are going to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I'm wrong, and that I didn't really grasp the message behind this movie, and that I only looked at it surface level, which is fine. Like I said, I didn't go to film school. I don't know as much about film as a lot of people do. I'm just the average person watching a movie. And I think from the average person watching a movie perspective, if my wife watched this movie, she would absolutely hate it. And she wouldn't even finish it, because she would get an hour in and she'd be like, okay, can we watch something else? Because this movie is slow and it's going nowhere. And it's frankly, it's dumb, is what she would think. And I would almost agree with her. Now, that being said, like I said, the acting is good, and it is some of the best cinematography that I have seen. I'm assuming now that we're in the 70s, this is the last movie of the 70s, we're going to get to the 80s, that technology is going to start taking hold. We're going to get the Terminator in the 80s, and we're going to see a lot more with cinematography. We're going to see a lot more with special effects, and it's eventually going to gradually get better. I'm constantly watching these movies, and there's so many different movies where I say, wow, this is the best cinematography I've ever seen. I Am Cuba was up there with cinematography. Wages of Fear was up there. But this truly is a fantastically shot movie. And I give them props for the fact that they kept, even though I don't think they should have kept reshooting the movie because I don't like the movie, props that they actually did that, and they really tried their hardest to get the best quality movie out that they could. But, at the end of the day, it wasn't for me. I give it, I still give it a 7.5, I will say, because of just how great the movie looks. So I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I hope you join me for my next review, which is going to be the first movie of the 80s, Atlantic City. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.